What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Quarantine Chronicles. Today, we're going to talk about weightlifting belts. Does it help? Does it not help? Is it a crutch? Does it make you weak? Does it make you strong? We're going to cover a lot of how these belts affect you physiologically, what Valsalva maneuver is and how important breathing is, and if you should use one or not. Let's talk about what they do. Most people wear weightlifting belts because they feel like they have a weak core or a weak lower back. They think it helps them squat more weight or deadlift more weight by keeping their back rigid or keeping it straight. What it's really doing is increasing intra-abdominal pressure, interthoracic pressure. Now let's define what that is. Inside your belly, you've got all your guts and stuff, right? All your organs and your spine that runs through. Now the lumbar spine are the main weight-bearing vertebrae of the body, right? There's 5 of them and they're big. They support the load of your body or the load of the implement that you're using, such as in a squat or a deadlift. Now you can increase that intra-abdominal pressure by doing what's called a Valsalva maneuver. Now this is for more advanced weightlifters or people that understand how to breathe throughout their lift because breathing's gonna be huge. That'll be for another video. But to define Valsalva maneuver, it's defined as breathing against a closed glottis or a windpipe. It's forcefully exhaling against a closed windpipe, which results in an increase in intra-abdominal pressure. Now, what I talked about before, all of that liquid that's inside of your body, your blood, all the fluid, your organs, what it does is by forcefully exhaling against a closed glottis, against that closed windpipe, it creates a fluid ball. That fluid ball surrounds lumbar spine. It creates more support. It keeps you safe throughout your compound lift. It protects your spine from injury, specifically the lumbar vertebrae. In between each vertebrae, you've got fluid-filled, shock-absorbing little discs, known as intervertebral discs. This is generally what gets hurt when you hurt your back, barring any injury to any structures of the vertebrae itself. What it does is when you put a load on your back, such as in a squat, vertebrae compress, and that disc compresses as well. It's meant to do that to protect you from injury. But if you have too much of a load without correct support, that disc can bulge. It can bulge in any direction and cause herniations and things along those lines. So the whole goal is to avoid that, and this can be accomplished with correct Valsalva maneuvering. Now, back to the belts. What does the belt do for you while you're lifting? The belt itself helps increase that interthoracic pressure, that intra-abdominal pressure. Creating that fluid-filled ball secures that vertebrae, creating that pressure, and allows you to lift more weight safely. Now the real question is, does lifting with a belt make your lower back weak? A lot of people think yes, they think of it as the crutch. But what research shows us is, it actually doesn't. There's electromyographic studies out there that show that mean erector spinae activity actually increases, upwards of even 25% while wearing a belt. That just means that those 2 big things running down your spine that hold your spine erect like this, holding it straight up and down, actually have an increased activity of firing when wearing a belt. Whoa, crazy, huh? Who knew? It's the opposite of what I thought. So the real question is, where does the weakness develop? If it's not in your lower back, where your lower back is actually firing harder and a higher activation, where does the weakness come from when the word crutch comes and is applied to using a belt during your compound lifts? This study conducted looking at the simultaneous measuring of intra-abdominal pressure and intramuscular pressure of the erector muscles and of the trunk muscles. Let's define the trunk muscles. We're going to define them as the erector spinae, the rectus abdominis, which is your nice 6 abs that you can see, and your external obliques. This all occurred while implementing the use of that Valsalva maneuver we just talked about. Oddly enough, the findings from this study were just like the previous study I cited. An increase in erector spinae muscle activity, while peak intra-abdominal pressure was not effective. This means that there was not an increase in those other trunk muscles that I listed. Whoa. What does this mean? This means that a belt actually helps with the lower back muscles to fire, while it does not suggest an increase in the anterior and lateral trunk muscles. So, to surmise, what this really means is that wearing a belt during your compound lifts has a higher activation of the lower back muscles, but creates that crutch actually into the anterior trunk muscles. What this demonstrates to us is that the crutch is actually in the anterior portion of your trunk muscles and the lateral portion of the trunk muscles. Wearing a belt actually helps the low back and has no effect on the anterior core muscle. Therefore, we can conclude that the crutch isn't the low back, it's your anterior core. Hope this video helped in your training, in developing your strength as you go along in your programming. You can reach me by email, jeff@njfast.com. Continue to follow us on social media @njfast. You can go on our website, njfast.com. And then if you want, give us a call, 732-251-5224. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.